South Asians and brown, there's not that many of us who are talking about mental health, who are having these difficult conversations.
I understand it so much better why you started your TED Talk with this sentence. Anxiety is my best friend. And I'm like,
Yeah,
is
I was like,
she?
I love anxiety. I
I love
started my
anxiety. Or
talk
something
with,
like this. Yeah,
yeah,
best friend or I love. And I'm like,
I love anxiety. And people are like,
what?
what? Yeah. When you change your relationship with anxiety and you're like, oh my God, you're just trying to protect me. Like, you love me so much. If you tell your body, like, oh yeah, something is wrong, then you'll continue that pattern. But if you tell your body, like, I know you're feeling that way, but I'm safe, I'm okay, everything's gonna be okay, and you take some nice deep breaths and you don't react to it, then it just like kind of fizzles away, right? Like, oh, okay, just checking if everything's okay here. Alarm is going off. It's funny because before, when people would find out I had an anxiety disorder or whatever, they would stop being with me or stop dating me.
Thank you so much for being here and welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. So
You are
excited
a
to be here.
celebrity.
Oh, stop.
And
Stop.
now you have like Mario Lopez. You're working with Mario Lopez, like big
I know, it's
people.
so random. Talk about manifestations, like bizarre. Yeah,
The
cool.
cutest part was that you're very passionate, and that was what made it like you're gonna see people all the time. Like if you probably go to Hollywood or LA, you're probably gonna see people all the time. But like the way you felt about it was like, this is so she's so passionate. Like I wanted to look him up and be like, okay, what has he done in life?
I know. Well, I grew up like watching Saved by the Bell, and it's so funny because
Yeah, Saved by the
people
Bell.
always joke like, Masoma, you always run into celebrities. I was like, I know, guys, because like just attract them.
And what I loved about it was that you had no pride or whatsoever in like
No.
asking for a photo.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like one of those
No
people.
shame.
I'm never gonna be like on a photo with a celebrity because like I have too much pride. I'm like the classic case of that.
Oh really?
And yeah, I think also like with
No.
politicians because I'm a journalist
Yes.
by profession, and I'm like I'm never gonna be seen in a photo with a politician because like that's like
Mm,
nepotism and that's
yes.
like being biased. But it's crap,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Like your spirit is the way to go.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know I have no shame, but it's like you got to catch them at the right time, you know? Like he was like on his Instagram, like just on his phone. So it's like, hey, can I get a photo? And he was so nice, so sweet, and like such good energy that you kind of feel the vibes and you're like, all right, let's go for it.
What
So,
is
yeah.
crazy is the location.
Buffalo, New York.
I was like, oh my god,
I
this is like
know.
God sent.
It is God sent. And I love Christmas, by the way. So it was like Christmas movie in Buffalo. It was like all fell into my lap easily. It was amazing.
Well, you are a celebrity
Oh, thank
of
you.
sorts because I googled you and I'm like, she's pretty famous. Like she's been on TV shows.
You're
I
so
haven't been
funny.
on so many talk shows considering I'm a journalist. But you've been on a lot of TV shows after
Oh
your
my
book,
gosh. You're so funny.
and
Tell me more. Tell me more.
so let me introduce you to all these
Yeah.
beautiful people who are listening.
Thank you.
Wherever you're listening or watching, if you think Masuma is amazing, which she is, please subscribe. So then that way I can get more celebrity guests and the podcast can get bigger and bigger.
Thank you.
I love that. So you wrote a book about overcoming anxiety and panic disorder.
Yes.
It
Yes,
was
I did.
incredible. It's like you laid yourself bare to the
Yeah, I
world.
really did. It's raw, it's real, very vulnerable for sure. Yep.
How did you decide to write it? And how did you feel that you're writing a book on anxiety? And what did you feel like? What are my parents going to think when they read it?
Well, yes, of course, that there's all these like what if thoughts and doubts and fears when you go public like that with such a personal story. Um, so I had like debilitating anxiety for a while, like around 9 years. And like I still coped with it, but it was just effect. I was in survival mode every single day. I was on medication. I was doing all sorts of therapy, reading all the self help books that I could find.
At
And
9.
I'm sorry?
At 9?
No, and for 9 years. I was
For
about
9 years. Sorry.
22 ye
Okay.
I was
Because I was like,
22
in the book,
when
it
my
was a bit
anxiety
later. Yeah.
yeah, I was around 22 when it really fully manifested in an anxiety disorder, and, I felt so alone in that journey. I felt really like nobody and I honestly didn't share with anybody, like, only my family and a few close friends knew, or those people that did see me have a panic attack or anxiety attack, but nobody really knew, and I felt so alone, and I felt like I was going crazy. I felt like, "What's wrong with me? What's happening?" And so when I found things that, like, really worked or resonated, I felt seen, like the Dare book that I talk about in my TEDx talk or the Power of Now book. Like, I felt so seen, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm not alone, like, there's other people out there that feel this." Like, the depersonalization, the derealization feelings, the disconnected feelings that I didn't even know what anxiety was when I first had my first panic attack. And
Yeah.
so when I found answers, like, I felt really compelled to share my story and to give back. It was like my way of giving back to the world, to others that are suffering, so that they feel less alone or that they have hope that it can get better. And so I did my TEDx talk, and then clearly I had way more to say. And so I went on to write my book, which took me about 4 years to write. And it's my personal story. It's interviews from high performing leaders, it's interviews from mental health professionals, and it combines these scientifically proven evidence based strategies as well as stories to hopefully provide resources out there. It's like I did all the work and research for you. It's like a one stop shop. Like, check it out. Of course, highly recommend therapy on top of that, and if needed, medication. But yeah, I just poured my heart and soul into this book in hopes that it could help someone out there.
Yeah. Yeah. How did your parents take it when you told them, guys, I have anxiety? Like, I wonder how my parents would take it if I told them I had something like that. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I don't think I would be taken seriously.
So I have amazing parents, mashallah, mashallah. My parents are like the best. And when I first had my anxiety, I had my first anxiety attack when I was like doing rotations because I was in medical school in Miami. And I was by myself, and my dad flew down because I literally went to the hospital because I didn't know what was happening to me. So I admitted myself, like, I walked myself to the hospital, and I got admitted for the night. And then my dad flew down, and we didn't know. They were doing tests, and they were like, "Oh, you have anxiety, you were tachycardic, and like, your heart rate was fast and stuff." And I was like, what is anxiety disorder? Like, what are you even talking about? So my parents were really, really worried. They were very concerned and worried, and like, almost, bless their heart, but they enabled it. So with anxiety, the basic premise is it's like it's an emotion, just like any other emotion, and it wants to be heard and seen. But when you fuel it, like, oh yeah, there is something wrong, like, oh my God, something bad is going to happen, it just escalates it. It makes anxiety worse. The adrenaline pumps more, and it just gets worse and worse. And so basically, if you tell your body, like, oh yeah, something is wrong, then you'll continue that pattern. But if you tell your body, like, I know you're feeling that way, but I am safe, I'm okay, everything's going to be okay, and you take some nice deep breaths and you don't react to it, then it just like kind of fizzles away, right? Like, oh, okay, just checking if everything's okay here. Alarm is going off. And the anxiety's like, is everything okay? And you're like, yeah, everything's fine. Thank you, though. Thank you for trying to protect me. And but
Wow.
if you're like, yeah, shoot, like, oh my God, something is wrong. Like, I need to go to the ER. I've went to the ER a few
Yeah.
times with my disorder because my parents got so scared,
I
worried that.
understand it so much better why you started your TED talk with this sentence. Anxiety is my best friend. And I'm
Yeah,
like, is
I was like,
she?
I love anxiety. I
I love
started my
anxiety or
talk
something
with,
like this. Yeah,
yeah,
best friend or I love. And I'm like,
I love anxiety. And people are like,
what?
what? Yeah, exactly. And when you change your relationship with anxiety and you're like, oh my God, you're just trying to protect me. Like, you love me so much. That's so sweet. I'm sorry I misunderstood you, anxiety. Like, I'm sorry I misunderstood you. I thought you were trying to hurt me, but you're not. You're just trying to protect me. So I need you, but just at the appropriate times. So let's work together to figure out what's an appropriate time for you to alarm and what is everything's okay. You can settle down.
Yeah.
So my parents were very supportive, very supportive. They didn't quite understand it. But they did enable it a little bit because they were like, something's wrong. Now, while my husband came in, he was like, "You're fine." And I was like,
Oh
"What?
my
I'm
god.
fine?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. You're right. I'm fine." Like his like almost not dismissiveness, but his like your like non-reactiveness to the anxiety really helped me heal my anxiety.
Really?
Yes.
I would imagine that it would have the opposite effect.
So it depends what type of person you are, like I feel like I need a little bit of tough love. I don't need
Ah.
coddling. I don't need enabling. I need more like, Masuma, you got this. Like, come on, let's go. Um, and sure, of course, we need a validation. Like, if we're really going through it and someone dismisses me, then it's kind of like, you don't understand. But at the same time, like, he would be like, you're going to be fine. Take some deep breaths. Like, you're okay.
Ah,
You're
okay.
okay. And I was like, you're right. I am okay. Like,
No, I get it
so
now.
that really honestly was healing for me to that
Wow.
approach. So,
That is so amazing because I'm one of those people who
yeah.
I go off the handle like this if
Yeah.
like I feel misunderstood. And I
Mm,
feel like the greatest need of humankind is to be understood even more
mhm.
than loved. And for me, like being loved is like so
Yeah.
meshed with being understood
Yes.
because I remember like as a child it was super hard for me to open up. My
Yes.
guards were always up
Mhm.
and I'm like I'm putting so much effort in like opening up and like I know the difference between coddling and like validation. Coddling
Yeah.
is uncomfortable even for
Right.
me,
Right.
but I feel like it's so nice that you it's so nice to hear you say this. It's like a new perspective because I
Yes.
feel like people who dismiss like they're a bit dismissive, maybe they don't intend to be, they just want
Right.
to tell you you got it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you
Yeah.
got it. That's exactly the approach I felt like he took, and he accepted me in all that mess that I like, me and my husband, Omar, we got together when I was like one of my highest points of anxiousness, where I was taking a lot of medicine. I was super anxious. And
Wow.
by the way, wedding planning was one of the most stressful times in my life. I think a lot of changes were happening. Clearly, I was going to move to a different state. I was going to move out of my parents' place, you know, and I was so anxious. And my husband was with me the whole time. He stood by me. He accepted me in that state, like at my worst. He accepted me and supported me. And so I will forever be grateful for him for that. So it does
But
help to have a
how does
supportive
it
system.
affect anxiety affect your relationship though?
So before, it's funny because before, when people would find out I had an anxiety disorder or whatever, they would stop being with me or stop dating me. And, or people that I was with, like their parents or loved ones, were like, don't be with her because
What?
she has an anxiety disorder. She has a
Who were
mental
these
health.
people? Like which ethnicity were they, if I may
Yeah.
ask?
They see, of course. They see.
South
You know.
Asians, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. South Asians.
Okay, because I was like, why are you telling your family anyway what your partner is suffering from? This is
I
so
know.
private.
I don't know. It is private, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to deal with all that. On top of everything I was going through, I was not accepted for the state that I was in at that time. And like, honestly, now, like, you know what I mean? You go through life and inshallah you get through it and you figure it out. And like, look at me now. Like, I'm thriving with anxiety. I'm thriving
Yeah.
with it and it's okay and everything's okay. But like, for instance, if Omar at that time, whatever, was like, oh yeah, she has this, like, I don't want to be with her, then, you're missing out then, honey. So,
I love that attitude. But did it feel bad when people were like, "Oh, we're
yeah,
gonna
of
leave because you"? How
course.
did it feel?
Oh, I
It's
felt
so
horrible. I felt
infuriating.
so, I would cry. I would cry because it was so hurtful that just because of this mental health, like, situation I was in at that time, that I'm being dismissed, I'm being like, I'm not worthy of love. That was a belief that I kind of started at that time,
Wow.
where I'm not worthy of love because I have
And there's
anxiety.
negative reinforcement every time somebody leaves. So it's a
Yeah,
deep seat. It becomes like this deep
yes,
seated thing. Like, why are you leaving? Because I have anxiety, and then you
yeah,
almost maybe start
you're not worthy
expecting
of
that.
love. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Wow.
obviously I had to do some therapy to unravel all that. And yeah, it's very hurtful. But what I didn't see at that time, and what I'm seeing more clearly now, is like, oh my God, I have a gift. Anxiety is a gift. Like, I have a superpower. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the views or the perspectives that we are told, like, what these disorders are, like, especially anxiety. It's like, I can feel on such a deep level. I feel the joy highly, I feel the pain fully. I'm so empathetic. I can feel people's energies. I can connect with people so easily and fast. I can help people on, like, a deeper level. Like, this is a gift.
How did you change that opinion? I mean, you've written plenty about it in your book, but for the people who haven't read it, like,
Mhm.
how did you turn this around?
I think a lot of therapy and a lot of working with my spiritual coach recently, that's helped me a lot, because before I saw it as annoying. Oh my God, I'm feeling anxious again. Oh, this is so annoying. Like, go, God, go away. And it was like actually an invitation to connect with myself more, to connect and listen to those emotions and those parts of me, to really open up and let myself feel. Because as humans, we're here to feel all the emotions, the good and the bad, the highs and the
Yeah.
lows, and that's our human experience. And if we shut ourselves off from that, like the difficult emotions, then we're not really fully living life. And it just takes a lot of practice. So, a lot of, like, okay, today I'm going to sit with my feelings or sit with anxious thoughts for 5 minutes. And then maybe tomorrow I'll sit for 6 minutes and seven. So it's like kind of like exposure therapy, where you just, like, a little bit by little bit by like a step every day, one day at a time, like putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and sitting with those feelings and breathing with it and accepting it and welcoming it and giving it love, giving it lots and lots of love. And eventually you're like, okay, it's here. Thank you. I hear you. I love you. You let it feel. And then it just passes. And you just, with a lot of practice, you get there. So
Yeah.
it's possible.
How did you break that shame? Like, did you ever feel
Oh, yes.
shame? Like, oh
Lots of
my
shame.
God. I mean, you talk plenty in your book about your work, how it was
Yes.
affecting, and
Yeah.
I could relate to some of it because recently I went through a work situation where I did not like the type of work I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
my behavior in that was
Mm-hmm.
completely different versus when I'm enjoying my work. So I
Yes.
kind of like really I read that part like two, three times because I was like,
Yes.
I'm not crazy. Like I'm
No.
not crazy, like she gets it.
Yeah.
But I knew immediately my reason was that because I'm in a situation where I don't feel very welcome, I
Mm-hmm.
recoil, and then it's a chain reaction. If you
Yes.
feel like the people around you don't like you, you don't like
Yes.
them back, and then they don't like it's just
It's a
like in a
cycle.
loop.
Yeah. It's a cycle.
It's cyclical, exactly. How did you break this shame around having anxiety. Like, how did you tell
Mm.
people, like, guys, I have anxiety? Like, how did you communicate that?
Yeah, so I did keep it private until I did my TEDx talk. My TEDx talk was like kind of like a public announcement. When I came out, people were like, I had no idea you were going through this. And I had no idea that you felt this way because, which also goes to show like you should just be kind to everybody because you really don't know what people are going through, especially behind closed doors. And the way someone treats you is not always a reflection of you, but their own projecting their own insecurities or projecting their own fears or issues that they might be having. Um, and so, like, I felt like a calling. I just felt like I had the opportunity, like God gave me an opportunity to share, give back, and help. And yes, I had to be very open and vulnerable, and the shame I had to just put that all aside. Like, yeah, of course, you're gonna get people that are gonna be like maybe judging or having their thoughts about it, but that's really none of my business. Like, I don't know, you get to a point where you're so confident in yourself and in God that you trust yourself, you trust God, and the rest, like, honestly doesn't really matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
We worry so much about what other people think, and it inhibits us and it stifles our life experience. And it's like, for what?
Yeah.
For what reason? Like, we're literally here for this. We're literally here for a second on this earth,
I
and then
know.
we're gone. So it's like, enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
just have
Yeah,
so
the
much
reason
fun.
I asked this question is because I
Yeah.
like to think I'm very confident, and I know that
Yes.
I'm very confident.
Yes.
But since I started my podcast, everybody gave me a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah.
And there were people who gave me an impression, and I needed this impression, is that would like to hear more about you
Yes.
because it's your story.
Yes.
And as a journalist, again, I'm trained in my brain not to become the story,
Right.
and this was a bit of a dilemma for me, like, how do I balance the two? And I had conversations with people I work with on the podcast, and my team was also like,
Mhm.
but we want to know more about you, people want to know
Yes.
more about you. And I was like, okay, I mean, it's not like I lack confidence, I can talk about anything in front of anyone. But also, like, am I seeking too much attention? Like, there's so many people in the world who are abused or sexually abused. There's so many women in the world who have challenges with their bodies, different kinds of challenges. And there's so many women in the world who have vaginismus. They can't have sex. It's painful sex, all of these things. And
Right.
then there's so many people who get help for it. Um, all of these things. Like, am I seeking too much attention? Like, am I going to be like this
No.
attention seeking person? And I was like, just curious, like, if you felt that
No.
way as well. I feel like that's not exactly lacking confidence. It's just like, should I say it in a way? And then I realized, you know what? I don't need to curate this. It is what it is.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You
Like,
know?
of course, I'm like, I always want to stay humble. When I joke about this a lot, right? Even on my Instagram, I was like, hi guys, I'm a movie star. I'm like joking around about it. But then I don't want people to think like, oh, is she being cocky or arrogant? Like, I'm literally just making a joke. And guess what? Some people will still think I'm being cocky because that's just their perception. But my intention is not that. My intention is just being goofy and silly. And girl, if your soul is here to shine, then let it shine, Like, for me, I'm a Leo. Like, the stage is where I shine. Like, I love being center of attention. I'm not afraid to admit it. And like, actually, Salia said this is like, why should we be half? Why can't we be full of ourselves? Like, why is it so wrong to be full of ourselves? Like, why not? They tell us to self love, and then when we do, it's like, oh, you're being arrogant. Like, there's like that fine line, of course, like, be nice and sweet to everybody or like humble in a sense, but it's okay to shine. It's okay to share your story. And yes, there are hundreds of thousands of other people with similar stories, but I don't think anyone has your exact story, like who you are as a South Asian, as someone from your background. Like, your story is unique to you, And it is worth sharing. Like TEDx, it's like an idea worth sharing. Like share it because you never know who you might help or who you might inspire. And if you feel compelled to do it, if you want to keep it private, keep it private. But if you want, if there's something in you that is like, yeah, I want to share it, then you should. You should, because I feel like we need to share more because even though there's all this, everyone feels alone. So many people feel alone in this journey.
And I always feel like a lot of people go through it, but very few
Yes.
people share it.
Yes. Very few.
Yeah,
Very
and
few.
there is this power in being able to say, yeah, okay, cool, this happened to me. I'm 1000% sure it happened to other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
But I had vaginismus. Like my muscles wouldn't relax and I couldn't keep
Wow.
something up. Like, you know what I mean? And
Really?
now I'm like, it is what it is.
Uh-huh.
And this is also a gift because I'm so comfortable and in tune with my body. And I probably would
Yes.
have never had it if I didn't have to do all of this work.
Yeah, that's
You
amazing.
know? So I
Yeah.
completely get it. Like when you say, I love anxiety, like I get
Yeah.
it. And it's interesting because like you're at the peak of the mountain looking back now and it's a lot easier to accept that,
Exactly.
but it's
It
so
is easier now
powerful.
than at
Yeah,
that time for
I mean,
sure.
I totally get it because obviously everything that you said in your TEDx is not something you say lightly. Like you've been through the
Yes. Oh, I've
difficult
been through it.
hell. Yeah.
Yeah. And recently again, like my anxiety came back again a few months ago. So I literally just went through the whole roller coaster ride again and did all the healing again and all of the emotions all over. And I feel like it was great because it gave me another perspective again to connect with people because it had been almost 6 7 years since I had like an anxiety situation. So now it's like I have a fresh new perspective on it, which now I'm ready to like share and give back to the world again. um so I think it is so important to share your stories, and we love to hear them, especially like people who look like us, like
I
South
know.
Asians and brown. There's not that many of us who are talking about mental health, who are having these difficult conversations
Yeah.
because of whether it's fear of judgment, our cultural
Yeah.
upbringing, fear of what our parents might say, our in-laws. The list
I
goes on.
wanted to ask about that, like the gendered expectations of or the gendered expectations and the intersection between mental health and caregiving. So, like in South Asian cultures, caregiving, whether for in laws or elderly or children, it's so central to the culture and it's often gendered. And how did you get through this? Did you feel this pressure to kind of keep up with the like the daughter-in-law or the good wife narrative, and how did you juggle with that?
Yeah, of course. I think there's that expectation and that pressure to be the good daughter-in-law, be the good daughter. I'm the oldest of four. I have of an immigrant family. Like I grew up with that pressure as like almost a third parent, good girl syndrome, like that whole shebang. And like I had responsibility from a very early age because of my younger siblings too. But I think like I don't know what it is. There's a part of me that was just like, this is what you get, take it or leave it situation where I was just, I think because my husband was so supportive and he is so understanding and accepting of me as I am, that was really helpful to not always do what societal norms like conform you to how you should perform. So, of course, I'm always respectful and kind, but I feel like I did whatever I could within my means. However, like you do have to learn boundaries. So, like recently, I'm learning boundaries and learning to say no. And I'm learning that even if I say no, like everything's okay and the world doesn't explode and the world goes on and I'm still loved and I'm still accepted, even if I say no, which is huge because as a huge people pleaser, it was hard for me to say no.
And are these people family or friends, who you're learning to create boundaries with, or within your relationship, or with your in laws? And there's no shame about it, by the way. We have to do it. And who are these people?
Yeah, you're right. Everybody, family, in-laws, friends, it's everybody saying no to social events that I can't commit to because I'm overbooked, saying no to people at my house.
How do they take it?
Oh, are we going there? Surprisingly, well, they do. They like respect it. And I was so afraid. I was so afraid, like, oh, they're gonna think I'm mean. They're not gonna like me. They're gonna think I'm horrible. They're gonna. But then when I did say no or had certain boundaries, they actually respected it. And I think they even respected me more because it almost felt like,
Mm,
oh, you have a backbone. Oh,
I
you're not just like
know.
a pushover. Like
I've realized
yeah, they respect me more.
if people start fearing you a little bit,
Hmm.
they respect you more, which is so sad. I mean, it says something about people,
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
ideally, you want it to come from love, right? Not fear, but which I try, you can set loving, kind, respectful boundaries and in a loving way. And, but maybe it is fear. I don't know. I don't think I'm a very scary person, but
I mean, it has nothing to do with you being scary or not. It's just,
yeah. Yeah.
what's the hardest boundary you've had to set?
Oh man, you're really putting me in the hot seat here, huh?
I mean, I want to learn something about setting
No,
boundaries
I
as
think
well.
like,
So,
so I think people were like coming and going into my house um in times where like I had things going on or I was busy or I had other commitments, and so I did have to set some boundaries like, hey, today's not a good day, how about you come this day, or hey, how about you stay over like on this date instead, like today's not a good day. So having to say no
right.
to people coming, that's probably the hardest one that I've done recently, is like people coming in and out of my house at times that either I didn't know they were coming or at times that were not like right for me,
Hmm.
and it was respected and it was honored. So I think, which I was shocked by the way, I was like, oh wow, everything's okay. Like, it was very
Yeah,
very hard for me. So yeah, we did
that
it,
is so
we did it.
interesting.
Yes.
You know, you said your parents are really supportive. I
Yes.
wonder if the extended family is as supportive, because I feel like in South Asian communities, extended families are so closely involved in
Mm-hmm.
what's happening in your life. Even if they're
Mm-hmm.
not involved in your life, they're going to be involved in your parents' lives. So
Yeah.
by extension, they're involved in your lives. And
Yes.
was it ever a problem to navigate that dynamic? Did you ever feel that community aspect?
Well, it's interesting because most of my family is in Pakistan. I have family in Germany and Ireland. I have a lot of family in Ireland. And I'm pretty public. I'm public on Instagram. So like you can see a lot of what I'm doing, where I'm going, and what I'm wearing. And sometimes I show my legs. And like little nungy parangi over there. um, and so my cousins see that, and it's actually kind of cute because the feedback that I do get from my family over there is like, oh, Masuma, like we love seeing your stuff, like you're a star, like you're a little celebrity, like you,
Hmm.
and they are so supportive too, which is really sweet. And I'm sure there's some, like some other family, there might be some jealousy there. But I just try to shift my focus on the positives.
In our first call, you told me, and then I read some of it in the book, that this book was basically, you wrote it over a period of time, like you were
Mhm.
pregnant in between, and you
Yes.
went through a lot of stages in your life. And what was that like? Like, did you ever fear that you would pass this on to your kids in some way? And the pregnancy, and like, mental health is so shrouded in our
Yes.
community. And I feel like the generation before ours, they did not even consider, oh, we are so anxious. How is it going to affect our kids? I mean, we all inherit generational trauma. It's a thing. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure we will also pass down something to our kids and the
Yes.
generations after us. But I feel like we're the first generation where we're actually taking note of, let's stop doing that, you know?
Yeah,
How did
exactly.
you get through this and how did you break the cycle?
Yeah, so when I was writing my book, I started it. I was married, I was living in Delaware, and I was like working, and so I started writing it during that time about my experiences at work and how it like if the anxiety would affect my daily work life. And then I became pregnant with my first, Rayan, and I was still writing it. And so like it was like writing and then um interviewing at the same time, and then revisions, a lot of revisions. And then I had Rayon, and then I got pregnant again with Amira because they're about 2 years apart. So Rayon was like 17, 18 months when I got pregnant again. And then I had Amira, and I was supposed to publish that year. I was supposed to publish in 2021, but I don't know. It was like wild. Like I delivered Amira, and I was going to publish before I delivered, but I was not quite happy with the book. I was like, it's not quite what I want. And I do have perfectionism. So I was like, you know, maybe it was a little bit of that. But then I delivered, and they do say like creation creates. And I don't know what it was after I delivered Amira and I got through the like little newborn haze. I like restructured the whole book. I moved everything around. I like rewrote a lot of parts. I like revised it like a lot. I changed it a lot. Like yes, there was of course the chunk of it was written, but I did move things around and rewrote things and added a lot. And so I delayed my publication a whole year. And then I published in April 2022.
Too, yeah.
So it this book went through so many journeys with me of being pregnant, first time mom, and second baby, and two kids. So it's just like, I feel like it's beautiful because um, it was with me during a very emotional part of my life. And so I'm grateful for that. It was almost like journaling, like I was basically
Yeah.
journaling a lot, and it came out in a form of this book in a sense. Yeah.
And how did you, what did you do? What steps did you take to kind of shield your children from the brunt of like anxiety or mental health? Like, did you
Oh
worry
yes.
about it at all?
So I for my children, I can see a little bit. Rayan, my son, he has a little bit of anxious tendencies where he needs like he has a little bit anticipatory anxiety about things, like, which I feel like somewhat is normal. And so I'm not focusing too much and not trying to identify him, not trying to put him in a box. Of course, I worry about those things of the future of like depression and anxiety. And so honestly, I'm trying to do my best to like be a conscious parent and to teach them a lot of strategies and tools and techniques, and a lot of that comes from observation. So for instance, like for him, like we call his anxiety like worry monster. Like, what is your worry monster saying? Like, we should thank you, worry monster, for telling me that, but I'm okay. So like we practice this, and he really does it even by himself. He'll be like, I was at school and I got a little scared. And I talked to myself. I said, I know it's a little scary, but you can do it. I got you. I trust you. Like, it's still, and he's only like, he's been doing this since like 4 or 5 years old, and he's only 6. And he already has all these tools, which is, I feel like I'm doing something right, because and my daughter, she like goes and hugs trees, and we talk to the plants and we talk to the trees, and we thank the earth, and we meditate. We like sit together and we meditate. We're just in Jordan in the Wadi Rum desert in the middle of nowhere, and we sat and we all meditated and we breathed the air, like, let's get fresh air. And like they see me doing it, and then they want to join me. And another thing they see is like, say I do relaxing baths, like energy cleansing baths that and I put the candle on and relaxing music, and they're like, "Mama, I want to take a relaxing bath." Like they want to do all these self-care things, um, which I feel are so important for to take care of your soul and your spirit. And so even if they go through difficult emotions or difficult times or anxiety, they'll at least have some tools that they can rely on. And obviously God is huge for us. Like we pray to God and in a way that is loving, and that God is so merciful, and not like the way that I was brought up where guilt and shame and you're going to get punished. But it's more like I think the true essence of Islam and God is like love and merciful and forgiving and radical acceptance. So I'm trying to teach them that version so that they always have that to fall on too. So I don't know. So far, so good. I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far with that.
I love that. How do you tell your kids when you're feeling anxious? How do you communicate that?
Yeah. So we say, so Ryan will be like, I'm really worried about this. And I'll usually say, like, you can put your hand on your heart and you can take a deep breath. So with kids, I'm like, smell the flower, blow out the candle. Or if they don't know, I'll be like, do you smell that? Do you smell that? Like flower? And they'll naturally do, they naturally will take like a deep breath if you ask them, do you smell that? Um, and then we'll say, uh, what like we'll talk to anxiety, like, hey, what are you feeling? And then they'll be like, he's worried about going there and mama, you won't be there. And I'll be like, okay, I know you're worried. I know that it's scary. We validate the feelings, we listen to the feelings,
Hmm.
and then we say, but I'm going to be okay. I got this. I can do this. And then we do like, you
This
know,
is
the
so
self-trust.
amazing. This is everything that we don't get in our childhood,
I
like
know, right? I
culturally.
wish I had these skills when I was growing up. So it's the validation and the self-trust. And then breathe, because life, honestly, we're going to be anxious, we're going to feel the fear, but we have to learn to do it despite the feel the fear and do it anyway. So we're going
Yeah.
to have that
You
courage and
know,
bravery.
it's so interesting to say that, like, you've taught this to your kids, and I
Yes.
wonder how you deal with it yourself. So, like, South Asian moms are often expected to be caretakers and nurturers and
Yes.
primary emotional support for not just the
Yes.
kids but the whole family. And
Yes.
how did this affect your mental health, and what did you feel in the moments when you felt like you have to put everybody else's needs before your own?
Yeah. You like hit the nail on dot, because that was literally me. Everyone's needs before mine, worrying about everybody. My sister, my brothers, like my brother and my sisters, like worrying about them, worrying about my kids, worrying about my husband, worrying about my parents, like literally worrying all
How did it
the
feel?
time. And I'm the family therapist, so everybody comes to me, and everybody not like dumps, but like vents to me. So here I am, like literally carrying all this emotional mental load, which does lead to anxiety and stress and lack of sleep. I'm like lying in bed praying or wondering. And so honestly, working with my spiritual coach Sana has been amazing, because she's really helped me have these boundaries, like energetic boundaries, especially like in social gatherings, and also verbal boundaries, like, oh, I would love to help, but like maybe try this, or maybe try that, or like kind of give other resource, or saying like, I'm sorry, I really can't help right now, or I'm at full capacity, like I can't really help, or
Wow,
I would
this
love
is
to help.
unheard
I
in
know,
this
and I did it,
culture.
so it is possible
Amazing.
with my family, with I'm like, I've literally had to tell like my sister, like, I don't have capacity for this conversation right now. Like, I love you and I support you and I'll be there for you, but I need a little bit of space for myself right now. But I love you. And then the other thing is, the technique that I learned is like handing it to God. So it's like, if I'm worried about my sister, like, Allah, please take care of her. And I literally physically like do this. I like hand it to God, and I'm like, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry. Like, I can trust that she will take care of herself. So trusting her, and trusting that God will help her take care of it. That's her journey. I don't need to fix. I'm a fixer. I'm always fixing, fix, fix. I don't need to fix anything.
Yeah. You
Wow.
said something that really stuck with me. You said that you would tell your sister or whoever that I support you, I want to
Yes.
support you, I love you, but I don't
Yes.
have the time for it at the
Yes.
moment. I don't have the bandwidth for it at the
Yeah, I don't
moment.
have the bandwidth right now.
Did
Yes.
you grow up listening to people or family members telling you that they love you? I feel like in Desi community, like in South Asian communities, parents rarely tell their kids that they
Right.
love them. This is so alien because it's not just South Asian. I talk about this with my partner all the time, and he's like, I mean, he's European, and he's like, I mean, my parents never really spelled it out. Obviously, they loved us,
Yeah, of
and my
course.
parents also loved us, and they still love us. But to tell family members and children that we love you, do you think
Yes.
that does something? Did you grow up like that, or did
Yeah.
you have to learn to do this in your adulthood?
Yeah. So that's very interesting because if you know, like the five love languages, words of affirmation is like saying I love you. And it's the easiest way to show I just say I love you. That's it. Done, right? It's just a word. But in our Desi culture, they don't express it that way. Like they'll cook food for you, or they'll bring you a plate of fruit,
Yeah,
or
acts
they'll
of service. We're really
yes,
big on
acts
that.
of service. And then they also like expect it back, right? So like I did this for you because I love you, and now you must or you should be doing this for me.
It's payback
And
time.
what's that?
It's payback time.
Yeah, payback time. And I personally didn't really grow up with that. So if you do read my book, I start off by my
Yeah,
hospitalization.
yeah,
And the one blessing from my hospitalization when I was in high school was that after that, before that, we were, I think, a typical kind of Desi family. After that, my whole family changed. We
yeah,
became so affectionate. We hugged
yeah.
all the time. We were
Yeah,
hugging.
I do get an impression of your parents that they're
Yes,
really soft, and you
yes,
talk also about your father and,
yes,
like his work life. And
yes.
I get a feeling that it's so warm and fuzzy. But I
Very.
was wondering if you grew up like that.
Not necessarily. I think
Yeah,
my mom was always like that, but my dad's a doctor. He's like busy
yeah,
working and like and also my mom is like a Desi mom, so like but she's always been warm and nurturing. But
yeah,
and she's dedicated her whole life to us, like sacrifice, like but that is not us now. We're breaking that cycle. We are not sacrificing anymore. No, we're done with that. We're actually going to prioritize ourselves. We're going to break that generational trauma and we are
did
the
your
gen
mom also start prioritizing herself? I'm really
yeah,
curious.
finally, now that all the kids, her 4 kids are like grown up. But
Wow.
even then, like we go home a lot, we see them a lot. And she's cooking up feasts for us and like doing so much for us and still like she still serves my some of my siblings like the food. And I'm like, why?
Yeah,
I'm like, why are you doing that? And she like loves doing that for them.
yeah.
Um, but also after my hospitalization, we like started saying I love you more. We
Wow.
started because I almost lost my life. I like they were like,
Yeah.
"We almost lost our child." Like I almost died. Like the doctors told my parents like she's gonna
Yeah,
die.
that's true.
That's
Now
it.
I'm remembering the beginning. It was very intense. I mean, I
Yes.
remember reading about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
when you're told your child's gonna die, yes, you're gonna tell them, I love you. Like, you know what I mean? Even though it was not natural or like how they brought up, but I think thank God they picked up. So I think since that we've been very affectionate, very loving, and openly do say I love you. So I am so blessed and grateful that my
Did it
parents
come from them first, or did you say it first?
I can't remember that. I don't know, but I think they were and then they became like very protective of me because I think they were like afraid to lose me. And even now my mom's like I still have nightmares, I still have dreams about your hospitalization. Like they get worried if I get
Wow.
sick, they're like, are you okay, are you okay? Like I'm like
Yeah,
I'm
I can
fine.
understand about
How are
your
you?
mom because
The trauma, yeah.
in general, like moms are
Yes,
more expressive. They cry
yes,
a lot more easily. But
yes,
in our society, in Desi society, we have the stereotypical Desi father. perception,
Yeah,
and
my
it's
dad's
real.
not
But I
like that.
never actually got that feeling about your father even from
No,
your
he's
book.
not. He
I
is like
just
the life of the party. He's got
yeah.
life figured out. Like, he just knows what is important and what is not. He
Yeah,
doesn't stress the small stuff. He literally will, like, tell us, like, "Just have fun, party, have a good time. Life is so short.
I
Like,
love
take care of
that.
each
That is
other.
so
Love, love, love."
absent
Oh my
from
god,
South
he's
Asian communities.
it's so
Like,
absent. Like, a lot of people could learn a lot from my dad. Like,
yeah, I learned that concept of toxic positivity when you wrote about your
yes,
father, and then I
yeah,
went to my partner and I was like, Christoph, we have so much trouble in topic
yes.
in this department right now. We're struggling in this way. Do you think we're being toxic positive? And he's like, no. Like,
No,
have you
yeah,
considered, like, you know what I mean? Like, it gave me
yeah,
something to think about, and I went back and I checked in with myself so much, and I learned that from your book actually.
yeah.
It's being a bit delusional. Of
I think it's
course
fine to be
people
a
are
little
like
delulu.
that.
I
I
think
think
it's
it is
fine to
a
be
coping
positive.
mechanism.
I think it's totally fine. I think it's just, um, if you're, like, unconsciously ignoring problems or issues that should have your attention, and, like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and you're just like, then it can cause problems, that toxic positivity. But if you're positive and you're loving life and you're loving yourself, self-love is huge.
That is amazing. Yeah, generally feel like having a good time is so absent from South Asian families because,
Yes.
like, I'm supposed to be getting married, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of organization, a lot of safety measures because we have so many guests coming to Pakistan from all over the world.
Yeah.
And I often feel like, I was telling this to a friend of mine yesterday, and I was like, look, the thing is, I know this is really hard for my parents and they're doing their best, but at the same time, it's a happy occasion. The idea is to have a good time.
Yes.
And that's kind of so lost, you know? Like,
I
everything's a
know.
chore, everything's a task. I
Mhm.
feel like even like the fact that I'm getting married for my family, they're doing their best. They're so available. They're trying to facilitate us in every way. But the fact of the matter is, it's a celebration that is so lost. And I feel like in South Asian families, we need to prioritize having a good time. It's almost like, I don't know who believes that. I don't know who's going to agree with me saying it, but it's almost like, don't have a good time. Do this, but don't have a good time. You know what I mean? Like, don't do this. And I'm so happy that your experience is so different. And I got a very
Yes.
different feel, like a very refreshing feeling when I read about your family. It
Yeah,
did not
thank
feel
you.
like that at all, like this tightness. And I feel
No.
like it's also a little bit like has something to do with the kind of background I come from and the society and the religious aspect of things. Like, don't
Yes.
have a good time.
I
Don't
know, I had to
enjoy
break
this.
all that. I had to break all that, like, Islamically. But I don't know, if you look back, like, dancing is so integral, like, in our weddings, unless they're very movie type. But, like, there's dancing and there's singing and lots of colors. I think naturally us humans want that creativity and that dance and the party and the fun times. But you're right, maybe the responsibilities and the tasks that we have to do get in the way of it. I think wedding planning is a little different because you do have to do certain things, but then that day of, hopefully you can enjoy and it's, like, all done, and whatever it is,
But
like,
there's
let
this
go.
aspect, right? If you're dancing, some people are very religious and they're going to be like, oh, but this is so sinful.
Let them. Let them. Like
You
Mel
know what I
Robbins
mean? And
says,
I feel like I
let
love
them
Mel
judge.
Robbins.
Yeah, Mel Robbins says, let them theory, right? They want to judge, let them. They
Let
don't want to
them.
be your friend, let them.
I love that. And I feel like this is so absent. Like, the whole, every single time we talk about the wedding, I'm like, but the idea is to have fun.
Yes.
And it's a little bit like, I don't care because I get judged a lot for saying that. But
Yeah.
like, I remember this culture a few years ago. It's changing very rapidly now
Mhm.
because South Asian women are actually breaking a lot of barriers. But there
Yes,
was a
they are.
culture where women were expected to be like shy brides. And how
Yes.
dare a bride say, I'm supposed to be
Yes.
having fun? Like, who are you? Like, you want to have
Yes.
fun, you know? And I feel like that's changing like really
It is.
rapidly.
It is changing,
But
yes.
it's still a bit alien for a lot of people around me that I'm like, I'm really excited, you know? Like to come
Mm-hmm.
out and be like, I'm a woman, I'm South Asian, I'm brown, I'm getting married, I'm super excited. Like
Yeah.
it's still a little bit alien for a lot of people. A lot of people are like getting on with it. But yeah, I think that we're
But that's
changing
their
that, but
problem and
it's
their
so
limited
nice. But
beliefs.
I also kind of love the fact that some people are uncomfortable because I feel like if you're not making people uncomfortable, you're really
Yes.
not breaking the cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
If
And
you
you're
are
going to
if they are
when you
too
break it.
comfortable, then you're too
Mhm.
late.
And you're going to rub some people the wrong way on this journey.
This is
And
fine.
when you're breaking barriers, people are going to question it. But that is their journey. That's their problem. Your like goal is just keep on keeping on and being true to yourself and being authentic and living a joyful life and enjoying yourself and saying what if you're excited, then yeah, say you're excited. And if someone else has a problem with that, that's their problem, not your problem. But yeah, and I think things are changing and I'm excited for that positive change that is happening. Of course, there's probably still a lot more work to be done, but
Yeah.
that's all good.
I'm always, I want to ask a couple of things and then
Mm.
we can close. One is we underestimate the state of mental health among men in our society
Oh
very
yes.
much. I mean, we also bully women who go through it, but like there is so much stigma around
Hmm.
mental health of men and mental health of
Yes.
fathers, and it's so overlooked. But I
Yes.
think that their well being is just as important for family dynamic.
Yes.
How can we
100%.
break free from that?
Yeah, it's so interesting because men are supposed to be strong and tough, and if they talk about mental health illnesses, they're looked on as weak, or if they're showing emotions other than anger, they're weak. They're not. Boys don't cry, men don't cry. It is so common in South Asians, obviously other men too. And it's actually really sad because they don't have the space to really express themselves or are like allowed to. And anger is a secondary emotion. There's usually like sadness under it or grief or something that's under the anger. Like it's a secondary emotion. So I just feel like if men were allowed to express themselves more fully, cry, and be allowed to have the emotions, I think it would be so much more beneficial and healing for us all as a collective. What men can do, because what they do is they push their emotions down, right? They like push down, push down, push down. And men are better at it than women are. Women can't push down emotions as much
Yeah,
as
men
men.
are better at
Yeah,
compartmentalizing.
they can. And they can function and they can keep going. And then they find their own coping strategies. Like, so for men, it could be like a sport, working out, gym is so important. Doing like a hobby. I don't know if you can hear like my husband playing the drums, like getting his anger. Like he
Ah,
has hobbies that he like golf or drums or they do like a poker night with their friends or they need boys nights too. And going to the gym is so important for his mental health. So, as a wife, I allow him to have these outlets to take time for himself, and he allows me to take time for myself. And, we make sure that our kids, like I'm taking care of the kids, or he's taking care of the kids, or we have a babysitter. Like, we make sure that we work together to take care of each other as partners. And I think that's so important. Um, and I think like for I can speak as a wife, like when I can do my part, I can't change him, I can't heal him, I can't make him grow or anything, right? All I can do is love him and support him, and his journey is his journey. We're on this together, but his journey is also not my responsibility. That's his journey, which is huge too, right? Because I took responsibility for everybody's mental health journey, and it's really not my responsibility. So when he comes home from work, I don't like dump on him or get mad at him, or I give him space to come home, settle down, eat dinner, and then if there's anything that's to be talked about or anything. Like once he's settled, I feel like I've heard so many wives, like the minute their husband comes home, they just attack. Like it's just like I feel like a funny
Yeah.
meme, common thing that like, they're just like, but I just feel like it's not uh productive. It's better, like, yes, if you have a concern or something, like let them settle and then you can talk to them in a way that you create like a safe environment to talk, and he's calm and he's eaten because you don't want him angry,
Yeah.
and you've kind of settled down a little bit. So I think that's worked well for
But do
us.
you think we should do the same for women? Because don't you think there is a little bit of a fear factor a lot of times that,
Mhm.
oh, we don't want to make them upset, but like,
Yes,
what about the women? Like, what about when the
yes,
wives come back home from work? You know what
yes.
I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's so true. So it's the same thing. If both partners are working, then like give each other a little time to settle
Yeah,
in.
or it's also household chores, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if
so
you're
you got to split
doing,
it. If there's two, so there's the
yeah,
split of the roles, and I think there should be an equal split. Or the only thing with that is that I will say is like naturally, women are more nurturing and what
yeah,
men are more providers. Like I think biologically, and like especially with the masculine and feminine energy, like we should be ideally balanced in both
mm,
energies. Um, but the masculine is more like a provider.
yeah,
And so giving each other that love and the space and that respect
yeah,
is really important, I think. And women also, like, we are afraid sometimes. I'm afraid to have difficult conversations. And now I'm learning, like, it's sometimes important to have difficult conversations because it does build connection. Vulnerability builds connection, and you have to be able to resolve that conflict and move forward too.
yeah, yeah. I feel like in one way I grew up in a really healthy way, it is that I always knew my father was more expressive than my mother. So he would be warmer. He's the warmer parent, which is so unconventional in some ways. And he would also cry more easily, which I now realize is healthier, yeah. Because he has trouble expressing himself, but like the culmination of everything is that he would just cry a lot more easily, which is why for me, like, men crying was never alien. In fact, I see this as a sign of power. If a man cannot cry, I feel like it's so easy for women and for children to feel like men are stone cold inside. So I feel like for me, a man being able to cry is such a huge plus. It's like a check mark in the plus column. And I could not be with a man who can't cry, like who doesn't feel rage or who doesn't feel hurt or who doesn't feel anger. And I actually see this as value if all of those emotions are coming out in the form of tears
Yeah, wow.
versus like
So
translating
cool.
into violence or something else.
Yeah, real men
And
cry.
yeah, I feel like real men, totally. I feel like real men cry.
It's hard though. I don't know. It's just like a lot of programming they brought up with. But if you have experience with that and if a man knows how to cry, that's kudos to them because that's amazing.
I feel like my partner cries a lot more easily than I do. And I cry
Really?
easily, yeah, but he cries super easily.
That's great.
Yeah, I
That's
feel I feel
great.
like my exposure to journalism has like kind of
Yeah.
hardened me a bit, even though I'm
Hmm.
a lot softer now than I was a few years ago. It's
Oh,
also like repression and then you face everything and then it's easier to let it out. But I think he cries more easily. I have one mother of all questions.
yeah.
Did you ever figure out what caused the anxiety for the
The
people who
root
are
cause
listening?
of the anxiety. Wow.
Was it generational? Did you feel like, because you're very solution oriented, I can see
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's some people who are like more pragmatic with solutions and there's
Yeah.
some people who are more empathic, and you're very much like a, and I get it because I'm the same. Like if
Yeah.
somebody's whining in front of me nonstop and I'm
Right.
like,
Drink some
you
water.
know, yeah, I mean, I like to think that I'm very empathic, which I am.
Yes,
But
I am too.
if I were to kind of put that in a box or a
Uh-huh.
categorize myself, I would be more of a problem solver.
Yes, same
And
here.
for me, this is connected to the mindset, and it's very easy for me to get ticked off when someone is whining.
Right.
Did you ever understand what is going on beneath the surface?
Um, I think there's a few, I think, root causes, but some of it could been like shame and guilt. Shame and guilt.
Shame and guilt about what?
Just like the cultural and the Islamic expectations of me and who I was and what I was doing. And also like what exacerbated it was like the mental like medical school stress, like the expectations from that I had to
Yeah.
perform at a certain
This
level.
you kind of talk about
Yeah,
in your book as well, like
yes,
the
the
med
medical
school.
school
And
stress.
understandably, I mean, it's,
Yes.
I would collapse, like, if I had to go to med school. Like, thankfully, I was not born into a family where my parents were like, but be a
Yeah,
doctor or be this. But
yeah.
did you have this, like, growing up? Like, what were these expectations? That you felt like you might not be fulfilling them?
Not yeah, maybe I had a belief. My parents were like like of course they encouraged, education and try medical school, but it's just like I naturally gravitated towards it because I saw my dad doing it. That's all I ever knew. I only saw my dad
Mm,
like I didn't see other
so true.
careers.
I kind of didn't make that connection.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't see other careers. So I was like, "Oh, that looks so cool." And I would see him dictate and I would see him in the office and I was like, "That looks awesome." I'm like, "Whoa, I want to do that." Since I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. And then when I like started it and when I was doing it, but then my anxiety came so bad and it was affecting me. Like I think I had a deep belief that if I don't become a doctor, like my parents would not be proud of me or they would not love me or
Mm.
they would not accept me, which they've never said that and they've never even treated me like that. But had developed this like deep belief, and then when I told them like, "Oh, I wanna what I'm going through," they were telling me like, "Quit, quit, quit." And I was like, "No, no, no." But then they were like, "We love you no matter what. Like, we will accept you. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what you do.
self-imposed
We love you
expectations.
just for you. You don't need a title."
Yeah.
And I think like hearing that was really healing. And it was like a unconscious belief I had. Like they never said that to me, but I just
Yeah, but
created that.
obviously you're absorbing from your
Yes,
environment.
yes,
Even if your parents did not say it, maybe people around them or people
yes.
before them, or maybe their experience was like that.
Mhm, mhm. And then like shame and guilt from religion were like I'm not hijabi. Sometimes I show my legs. Like, will Allah love me? Does Allah love me? Am I accepted? Will Allah forgive me? There was a lot of that religious programming. Um,
How did you break that?
First of all, I had to get to the awareness of it. So I had to do like
Mm.
the inner work with a therapist and a coach, and I had to work with it for a while. Like it's like a spiral, but it's going upward. So you look down, it's like a circle, but it's actually a spiral going upward. So sometimes that trigger comes back again. Like you think you've resolved it, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I healed that." And then a few years later, it might come back again because you might have to go a little bit deeper. You might have to go to the root. So through work with a therapist and also my coach, we like really brought awareness to it. You talk to yourself at that age or whatever. You bring, it's like a whole kind of meditation practice situation.
I'm not exactly religious, but I get a sense that you are religious, and I really love that you are so balanced.
Yeah, I'm
I
religious in a sense,
how
not
do
in the
these two
traditional
things?
sense,
Uh,
not like in the movie sense.
no, of course. I mean, that's
Yeah,
radical. That's
yeah,
not
radical.
traditional.
I'm not
It's
like that.
But how
Mm.
do these two situations coexist in that you have a
Yeah.
belief system and it's so profound and
Yes.
you turn to your belief and you lean in,
Yes.
but at the same time you're like, I'm gonna show my legs.
Yes.
Because
Because I think
90% of women, 90%
yes.
of men, 90% of human beings are like that. That's like the balance people want to strike.
Yeah.
How does this coexist for you? Does it still make you anxious? Does it still do something to the,
Um,
you know?
a little bit, I think, but it's like when if anyone judges me or whatever, it's like actually I'm judging me. It's like when we get triggered by somebody,
Mm.
it's actually a invitation for us to look inward. If someone's judging us, it's actually we are judging ourselves. And so when I have awareness of that, like why I'm judging myself, will God love me? But I think when I really learned how amazing God is, like radical love, radical acceptance, radical forgiveness. And I've seen God work with me and like give me gifts and like my manifestations and like, God winks at you, like little signs here and
Mm.
there. And I just feel it in your heart that like He's with you and He loves you. Like God loves you. He loves us all. And He is just waiting for us to talk to Him and just have direct communication with Him. And He's not some guy in the sky, but He's like here. He's right here. He's in us. And I think when that shifted, like my belief, when I learned about the real Islam and the real Allah, the real God, that was like, wow, why was I being
How
so
did you
open?
learn this? Did you?
So I read like what is it called? Divine Secrets of Divine Love.
Hmm.
Have you heard of that book?
Yeah.
That's a really great book.
Haven't read it, but actually, yes, heard
It's
it.
beautiful book and it talks about how like Allah loves us. Um, and then obviously through my coach too, it's like what God really is and what Allah really is like love, 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 love. And when I learned about that, I was like, this is what I've been wanting to hear my whole life and what I knew to be true, but not what I was taught. I was like, well, if you do that, you're going to get punished and you're going to hell. If you do that, you're
Yeah.
going to hell. You're going to hell. You're
This
going to
is
hell.
this just makes you more repulsive, and
It
you're like, why
does.
am I doing it? Like, you know?
Makes you anxious and guilt and shame and just all these emotions that
Yeah.
we love and we accept all emotions. We love our shame, we love our guilt, but
And our
we
anxiety.
yes, and we love anxiety. However, it's just like so wrong to portray God like that. I feel like it's such a disservice because God is not that at all. He's so loving,
I
forgiving,
feel like I have
merciful.
religion trauma. Don't even have
Yes,
shame
we a lot of
accepting
us
it,
have
but
religion trauma. A lot of us have that. And like force,
especially like,
this,
yeah,
read this,
going like
memorize it, memorize it. Like what? For what?
exactly.
I don't
And
even know
like
what it means.
growing up in Pakistan
Yes.
and where religion is more cultural than
Mhm.
spiritual,
Mhm.
it's like the entire thing is don't do this and don't do this and don't do this and don't have too much fun and don't spread your legs and don't have sex and don't fall in love and this is
Yeah.
haram and this is
Yes.
prohibited and this is, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, then what is allowed?
Yeah.
Every goddamn thing that you can have a good time with is like religiously supposed to be a sin, which is why what I said basically ties in earlier with what I said, like having a good time is actually looked down
Yeah.
in so many Muslim families, because how the hell are you having a good time, especially as a woman? Because if you're a woman, you're supposed to be scared all the time, and you're
Yeah.
supposed to like kind of like be like, oh, I'm gonna save myself for marriage, and even after
Mhm.
marriage, don't enjoy sex. Like, oh, don't
Yes.
enjoy it. You know, it's
After
supposed to be
marriage, yeah.
something. It's supposed to be something that your husband's doing because you know he wants to keep the legacy and he wants to have babies with you,
Right.
but don't enjoy sex. Like,
Right.
it's so weird. Like,
It is
I
weird.
feel like that's why I have religion trauma.
Yes. We all do. And I think like when you see past all that and you see that it's all like lies or you learn like I was also like why can't we eat pork? Like I don't understand, we can't eat pork. And then I learned why we can't eat pork. It made more sense, like where the parasites in it and they're dirty, or they eat mud, or they eat their poop, like whatever they eat. Like there was, and that pork is actually not really healthy for you either. then it made more sense. Or like, why is alcohol prohibited? And all my like nobody told me why. I need to know the why. And then when you learn, oh my God, alcohol is like
Mm,
literally poison. It alters your brain, makes you do things.
I
You
know.
lose your inhibitions, like in a certain extent, right? Like
Yeah,
if
you
you
can lose
indulge,
brain cells. It's so
yeah, and it's
unhealthy
so
and all of
unhealthy
that.
for you. I was like, oh, I mean, I out of I never drank or anything because I had good girl and I was like fear and anxiety, but also religious in that sense. Like, so but when I learned the why, it made sense. And then I learned the like science in the Quran and the science in
Mm.
Islam. Like, I feel like that stuff made me like, okay, yes, this makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, there's so many things like there's so many things I now see eye to eye with what I
Yes,
was taught.
yes,
But because it was so authoritarian, the
yes.
parenting and the
The way it was
culture,
said.
like
Yeah,
do this, otherwise you are gonna burn in hellfire.
yes.
If you don't do this, then you're gonna have if you're gonna
Or
do
like God's
this,
gonna be mad at you.
God's
I'm
gonna be
like,
mad at you. If you do this, you have no blessings in your home. Like, I'm like,
yes.
this is so dark. Like, this is so
It was
depressing.
all fear-based. Fear-based. There's
Yeah,
no love-based. So that's when I changed it. Like when I read that book, Secrets of Divine Love, and learned more about God, I just like all love-based. And I was like, oh, yes, this makes sense to me. This resonates with me. My soul likes that. So,
I love that. Thank you so much for
yeah.
sharing your
Thank
story.
you. Thank you so much.